Has your credit card ever expired and then you had to go back to all of the different subscription services you had and re-input your credit card so that your service didn't get shut off? Nobody likes that. The merchant doesn't like it, because they might lose a customer, and you don't like it because it's really annoying. Today, we're going to be talking about how VGS helps solve that problem in the most efficient way possible. So let's start drawing this out. Here we have a customer. This customer, this is anybody who wants access to subscription services or just online services. So this guy has a card number that is issued by one of the networks, either in conjunction with an issuing bank or they just issue it themselves. So there's Visa, there's MasterCard, there's Amex and Discover. These are the big ones. So these guys give this card number to the customer. Now this customer has a right to give the merchants that they want. Here's a little drawing for a merchant. This customer gives this card number to the merchant. The merchant then has the right to charge this person's card to get access to their funds. The fact that this customer gave the card to the merchant gives them direct access to that customer's bank account or direct access to that customer's credit. Now, the way that this merchant gets access to those funds is through PSP. Now, let's go back to the original problem, where the merchant, they're charging your card, and then this card number, it could be lost, it could be stolen, it could expire. Now, when that merchant goes to charge that customer's card, it's not going to work. So how this has worked in the past is the merchants will work with the PSP in order to get updates to that card number. So the Visa, MasterCard, Amex, Discover, they will funnel updates to the PSP, and then the PSP will keep that customer's card up to date on behalf of the merchant. Now this service costs money. This is a billable service. That cost is getting passed back into the merchant. This becomes a problem when the merchant has multiple connections into Visa, MasterCard, Amex, Discover through different PSPs. You could have PSP 2, PSP 3. So the more sophisticated this merchant gets, the more times that Visa, MasterCard, Amex, and Discover have to send updates to the PSPs. At this point, you start out with one cost, and now you're going to triple the cost because you have 3 PSPs. So where does VGS come into the mix? VGS is another storage point for the merchant's credentials on file, the customer cards that have been given to the merchant. So over here, they can store that card, and here there's a VGS logo. But VGS has that customer card, and VGS also has a direct connection into the network. What this means is that when there is an update to that card, rather than having to update it 3 times, merchants update it 1 time through VGS, and then they get access to the updated credentials directly. Then when it's time to charge the card, they can send the updated credentials through any of the PSPs. This is going to substantially drop the cost of that account updater service. It's going to simplify all of the payment orchestration. One of the issues that you run into is maybe only one of these services, maybe one of these PSPs has access to account updater. That means that the tokens that are stored with PSP1 will be kept up to date, but then the tokens that are stored with PSP 2 and 3 become stale over time. And so after cards expire every 4 years, that means at a minimum 25% of your cards on file are going to become out of date after the first year. In practice, because it's not only expired, is the card lost? Is the card stolen? A new card number that's been issued by the issuing bank? What we have seen is that it's closer to 40% of cards that become unusable over time than 25%. 25% is your minimum just because of expiration. Merchants do have the ability to create their own vault, what they, if they so choose, what VGS does is they offer an intelligent vault that has these direct connections into the network. This connection is very difficult to build. And so VGS's partnership with the network gives them access to that updated card, like with the other, similar with how we get access to the other network services. So you store cards with VGS, it's an intelligent vault. So when any update goes through Visa, MasterCard, Amex, or Discover, VGS is going to get that update as soon as possible. We will then inform the merchant of this update, say, hey, we have an update from Visa. This card is being canceled, this card is being stolen, here's the new expiration date, here's the new card number, and then the merchant can respond to that and they say, okay, now I know how to treat this customer. With VGS, merchants will store the credentials that have been given to them by customers with VGS, and then they will get updates to that card number. Rather than having to pay for updates with each of their PSPs, they only pay one time. So if you're a merchant and you're sick of paying for these services multiple times, which you are, simply by subscribing to the service with multiple PSPs, make it easier on yourself. Store cards with VGS, and then we are going to give you the updates as they come, and you're going to lower your costs. And also, you won't have the 25% to 40% cards going stale every year. For any merchant who is in the online space, this is critical. For anyone who is relying on, like, they put in all the marketing, they put in all the work to get the trust from this customer, to give them their access to their funds, to get access to their bank account or their credit. The most valuable thing you can do as a merchant is to keep this customer happy. And one of the best ways you can do it is to make sure that they never have to re-enter their credential again.